I've always put women on a pedestal because really and truly, none of us, none of anything will be possible without women. And men can say, well, a man played a part. But for this day and age, they don't need us to make humans. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're back in the building.
Yes, sir.
Happy Saturday, daily clarity.
What's that? Easter Saturday.
What is it?
Yeah. This Friday was Good Friday. Today's Saturday. Saturday and Sunday
That's
is
a thing.
Easter.
It ain't a thing. Easter Saturday.
That's egg. That's egg day. That's all the
Easter
eggs.
Saturday.
Friday?
You just made that up.
I think it needs to be Good Saturday. It's Good
Good
Friday, no Good Saturday, then it's Good Saturday.
Oh my God. You know what? I can't with y'all. We are back in the building. Another beautiful day. At least this is a beautiful day until tomorrow when the temperature drops to 60 degrees and rainy.
Man.
Shoot. We need some consistency with this weather out
I
here.
know, right?
Golly. I was able to get out in it today. Did y'all work today, didn't you? Did you get out? Did you get out in it? Did you put your butt in the air?
You know what? I did not. I did not.
For some of y'all that don't know what I mean when I say that, we were instructed by Christy that some health benefits is putting your derriere, your naked derriere, in the air.
That's right.
To where it hits the actual
anus.
Yes, what she said. And so that's why I said that, because the sun was out today. It felt amazing. It was like 80 something degrees. Then they're going to hit us tomorrow with this weather. Man, oh man, oh man.
I want to see you dancing in the rain, Tim. When that rain starts, I want to see you dancing in it.
We've had unseasonably high percentage of rain this year. Like, this is crazy. This is crazy. They'll tease us for 2 or 3 days with great weather, throw some rain in there, make it a little cold.
Did you hear about how Arizona put some kind of millions of dollars into cloud seeding, which I think has to do with the rain? But we're not going to get into all that.
Yeah, that is a thing. They are finding a way to control the temperature. Is there no end to the control? Like, is there no end? Like, do we have anything that they don't control? No, we don't. That's the easy answer. We don't. We don't. We don't. But we have an amazing topic today. I'm super excited about it.
Because they don't control what we say in here. So there you go.
That's true. That's true. They don't control what we talk about on Shoes also. That is true. But I am super stoked about today's show and the topic because I've always put women on a pedestal because really and truly, none of us, none of anything will be possible without women. And men can say, well, a man played a part. But for this day and age, they don't need us to make humans. The science,
technology,
the science is there that they don't need us, and go ahead give them their credit, and what they're due is we don't. That's another holiday. It should be a holiday. That along with Black History, I feel that we need to extend that and make the Women's Month, and I think that needs to be. But I'm saying it needs to be extended. It needs to be monthly. Like it needs to be it needs to be a celebration because without women, none of us will be here.
So they got month of March and they got May.
What's in March?
March.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
And then April is what?
April. I said May.
Isn't this April already?
Like,
oh, in 2 days. Oh, so it's still Women's History Month. So you said it was 2 months, and what's the other month? May.
We have two.
Oh, it's Mother's Day. I think.
Right.
Oh, Mother's Day.
But that isn't really an acknowledgement of women because there's some women out there that aren't mothers. I really and truly feel like I'm a low key feminist. I could say that. I'm a low key feminist
I would like
because
that.
that's a touchy argument, but it ain't too touchy for us to talk about it on Shoes Off Talk. But that's a subject for another day. Well, it actually kind of ties into what we're talking about today. I'm gonna hit you guys with some stats that you might not have known or you might have known. 61% of U.S. women say feminists describes them well. Many see feminism as empowering and polarizing. Do you agree with that? Who's going first? Don't all jump. Don't all jump one at a time at the same time.
Well, I believe in equal rights for all. So we have to encourage women to find their power, to own their power, because it's seated at such a young age that we are less than. We don't see ourselves as powerful because men are more powerful. Men are the breadwinners. That's how we're raised. So to say this, I think it's hard for some women to see themselves as a feminist because we, or at least I say we, I speak for myself, and I see us all as the same. So to say that women are, women are better at this or what, I don't see that ever. We're all the same. Now to empower women to take those roles, to see their power, to know that they can do whatever they put their mind to, that is something that I don't necessarily see as a feminist to everyone. I say that to my son. You need to see your power. You need to see how powerful you are. My daughters, you can do anything. Don't ever think just because it's a man's job that you can't do it. My daughter just went through this Aspire Academy. That's an academy. It's all female academy, which I think is important because when you mix the sexes, sometimes you're not focused on what you need to focus on. So it's all female academy that teaches you how to be a firefighter and a police officer. And those are typically male driven jobs. And my daughter came out of it like, I want to do that. And I was like, oh, that's not what I wanted to hear. But for her to see that I can do these things, she's, running up 7 flights of stairs, rappelling off and dragging these big ass tires. And let me tell you that my daughter is like all of 80 pounds and like not even like 5 feet tall. She's tiny. She's a tiny girl. And to see her like do these things and come out and feeling strong and feeling like I can do this. I can do this job, male driven job. Made me very proud as a mom. But I don't necessarily think that I've ever considered myself a feminist.
So just so we're clear and the audience is clear and people that may not know what feminism is you view women as not only as equal to men, but you feel like even on a pay scale that women should get paid the same money that men should get paid in the same identical role. That's something that I don't agree across the board. I don't, because there is physical roles that you have to take on in certain jobs, and if you can't do those physical roles, then I don't think that you should get paid as someone that can physically do that role in that aspect. And women do have their physical limitations, which is understandable. I mean, that's the reason why we say that transgender men shouldn't compete in women's sports because of that, unbalance of strength and physicality. Likewise, that is the only area where I say there needs to be a distinguishment in as it pertains to pay. But if we're talking about a chief of police, woman and a chief of police man, there should be no difference in the pay. First of all, both of them earned the stripes or the the ability to lead in that role as chief. Same thing as a firefighter. If there's a woman that's a chief firefighter, she should get paid as a male chief. Um, the big thing that people are talking about, that's the topic of conversation now all over social media, is women in sports and the equal pay. There's so many different variables, but before we dive into that, I wanted to um, share another. Um, for me, it was an alarming stat. And this is it: the average Women's Empowerment Index, which is WEI, score worldwide is 0.607. So that's a little bit over 60% of women, meaning that globally women are only empowered to achieve 60% of their full potential. That's a little bothersome to me because I feel like society as a whole, men and women, we need to be contributing to that number being higher. And likewise, when I look at another statistic and it says that 61% of women only, for me, I mean, the way they rolled it out, that was high. That 61% of women consider themselves to be feminists. For me, I know that there is a unbalance of physicality in certain roles. But for me, if I'm a woman, I'm all the way feminist because I would rather fight for the ability to get that equal pay and then work down from there. I don't want to start setting standards and giving myself knocking myself down as a woman pegs before you even get to that top rung. Get me at that top rung, and then we can work our way down from there. It's women have come a long way over the years, and I feel like it's time for them to start working down instead of working up.
But we need to get there at some point. So I was just watching Quiet on Set. I heard that about the Nickelodeon, all the stuff that went on Nickelodeon set, and there was two writers on there, female writers, that when they were brought on, they were each hired.
I heard about this.
And they were super excited about finally getting like their dream job, but then they were told that you guys are going to have to share a salary. They were so excited to just get a job or a position that they really wanted that they didn't feel like they could say no. So they went along with it. And that's the problem, is women are just so happy to finally get their dream job that they are accepting lower pay just to be seen, just to have their name on it, just to say, I made it, rather than demanding, no, I'm deserving to have full pay, full salary. I'm putting just as much work as the man next to me. Why wouldn't you pay me the full salary? Why are we going to have to share a salary? So I think women, because we're afraid that they'll just throw us out and say, we'll get the next person that's willing to do it. We'll get the next person. And women were very belittled, seen less than, that we accept just to get our foot in the door, we'll accept less than. So we do need to get our foot in the door just to get those women to stand up for other women. So those women finally put their foot down and said, to a Screen Actors Guild, this is what's going on. And the producer ended up getting in trouble and almost got fired. It was that woman that got her foot in the door that finally put her foot down. That's what we need. We need more women that are willing to put themselves out there, that are willing to maybe take those lower salaries just to get their foot in the door, and then to call out, wait a second, this isn't right. I see all these people here. I'm not less than. I'm a woman too, or I'm a human too. I'm deserving just as much as the person next to me.
Well, and the reason why I say women need to stop working their way up and start working their way down is because women have proven in every area of every industry that they're capable. They don't have anything else to prove. With that, they have put women in very influential positions like a Oprah and all these different people. You got the vice president of the United States. Like, there is women in power that should be empowering other women.
Right.
The days of having to prove themselves is over. Is over. But as long as you have women that are willing to just accept the minimum and sell themselves short, like you said, to get your foot in the door, those days, for me, those days are over. Like, women have more than enough time shown us that they're capable of handling any role that a man can have. And yeah, like, do you come in at up here? Maybe not if it's a new role, but I don't want you to tell me that if I come in at this role, then I'm capped at how high I can go. No, I want to know that I have the ability to progress in whatever it is. And real quick, talking about what you were talking about is that's industry wide, and that's the reason why those women that did Color Purple, that they were up at arms, because there is a woman in that influential position that should have lobbied for them to get more than what they got. And it's like, what do? Do you turn down a Color Purple role because you're not happy with the salary? You probably won't. You probably won't, because if nothing else, it adds to your resume,
Right.
and other people will view that movie and see your abilities, and maybe not in that position, but it may open doors. But they shouldn't have to do that. They shouldn't have to, especially with those women that are proven in those fields. Like, they should not be scratching and clawing at this point. That's not a. It's not like sports where it's a revenue based, you know, uh, scale. To where constantly had this conversation: should the WNBA be getting paid the same as the NBA? No, they shouldn't. They shouldn't. But I think the pay that they make is ridiculous. Like, it's ridiculous. And I'll just leave it at that, because I know you had a comment on. I know you had a comment.
I did.
Yeah, and my bag. I probably took so long and took it away from you. Go ahead.
So I was just going to say that for me, when it comes to women embracing their power, it was more so, well, a different meaning to me. It was the meaning of confidence. Um, how women can be confident in anything, everything that they do. They've proven it. Then by just influencing other people, not just women, but men as well. 'Cause I get influenced by women.
And I
Yeah, it
think
has
that
to. Yo, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that's definitely where it starts is from within, with having the confidence to ask for that larger salary or to say, I'm capable of doing this, to go for that higher paying job. Because if you don't have the confidence, you're not going to do it after that. So it's really finding that confidence. And I'm glad that you mentioned that. That's what I try to teach my daughters all the time, that they are capable of anything. Because, like, I remember my just being excited to get married because I wanted my husband to deal with people that would come into the house. I didn't want to deal because, like, I feel men are more respected. I'm like, I don't want to deal with cross workers. I don't want to deal with. Now it's like I'm forced to, and I'm proud to say that I can confidently face people coming to the door and say, "You're here to fix my refrigerator. Okay, this is what's going on," and I can confidently, feel like I can communicate with them. Whereas when I was younger, I was like, I can't have these conversations. I can't because they won't listen to me. I'm not a man. I didn't feel like I was heard. So just growing into that confidence and being like, yes, I can confidently talk to the opposite sex and demand to be heard by them is very important. And that's where it really starts.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff is coming from within, but it all could be traced back to either a moment in time or somebody empowering you or bringing it out of you. Because a lot of people struggle with finding that within themselves, and I think it's important to for everyone, men and women, is to find that thing that makes you comfortable, or put yourself in those settings that bring that empowerment out of you. Because it is something that you can find within yourself, but sometimes you don't know how much of that power you have in you unless someone that you look up to, somebody that you admire. And so that's why I think it's important for women to accept these roles of influence, because you know that's that's having a spokesman for you. That's having somebody out there that understands you. Like, I can be in an influential role as a man, but when it comes down to it, do I have do I know what a woman goes through? Do I know what it's like to be a woman? I don't know what it's like to be a woman. And so I can't handle a woman the same way I would handle a man. But if you can have a woman in that same supervisory, managerial, influential role, um, they used to have this thing. Um, what was it? Each one teach one, and that is what it's about. Is having someone that has been through it, has those lessons and those different values down to the next one. Um, and that's what it's about. I always say this life we live is not about us. It's about the people that are coming after. And so a lot of times we have to take ourselves out of the equation, and that's why we have these life experiences, not for our own, but to be able to pass those lessons down to the people that are coming after us. And it's so important that that these lessons are really um, gotten and grasped by women, because um, bro, whether you we want to believe it or not, women really rule the world.
Yeah,
Women really rule the world,
I do agree that.
and and
That
until we come to that understanding and that agreement, then we're not going to, as men, empower them like we should. Um, and there's no reason that a man should be threatened by a woman at all.
and I agree that women need to empower other women. We all need to support each other, but I feel men need to empower women just as much as women need to empower women. Because
That's difficult.
when I think of the big influence in my life and the people that made me feel like I could do it, my dad. It's and I think a big part of it with a woman, especially, is the relationship she has with her father, and then that goes on to the husband or the friends, the males in their life, that encourage them and make them feel like you can do this. And the women too. My mother, single mother, is just my sister, mom, and I for the majority of my life. So my mom was a single mom. I saw how hard she was. I saw how hard strong she had to be, and she's my backbone. I definitely got strength from her. But then those men in my life that made me feel like I could do things that I never thought I could. They definitely need a badge also. And, to say that it's not just women in our life; it's men too. Men need to learn how to encourage women as well.
I think that varies. A lot of it varies based on culture. because we know it's prevalent that in the black household, um, it's known that you know there's we those of us that are brought up in the black culture. It is, I wouldn't say rare, but it's common to be brought up in a household where there's not a man involved. And so that's why I think that is there's so many different variables that affect that when it comes to men being influential in women's lives is that for the black culture, we don't really get to experience that on a grand scale, having the father in the household growing up.
Right.
I didn't have a father in the household growing up until I was like 9 or 10 years old, and so I didn't have that influence on me. But it was men in my family that influenced me, and we go back to that question: can a woman raise a boy to be a man? And she can't. She can't. She can teach him the values that men should have toward women, but a, a woman can't teach a man to be a man, just like a man can't teach a little girl how to be a woman. It's just impossible. It's impossible. And with with this influence as it pertains to men influencing women, yeah, there's a lot of variables that come into play: culture, education, um, just influential background. And, a lot of that comes into play, but it all boils down to the same thing: is like you are going to be influenced and molded by the people that are closest to you, that have the most impact on your life. And so, even as we get older, that's why it's so important for you to really check your circle, because as you get older, you're raised with these particular values, but then life starts happening, and your ability to make those adjustments are really based on the people that you have around you. And so, that's why it was when I created the brand, um, selective uh, social uh, club, is because it's important for us to really, really, really understand how important the people that we have around us are. I think we take that thing for granted because we throw around the word friendship, we throw around the word love, and we really don't understand the value of those things. And we have to get back to those old ways, old morals and values that we grew up on. And so that's why it's important. I was thinking about this today, is even as it pertains to our history, you know, whatever you are culturally, it's important to have those cultures, have those conversations with the old heads, the people from back in the day. The people that know the culture, the people that was there.
Now, you talking about all the old heads back then. You know they embellish. You know that, right?
Well, we say we've always said it's embellishing, and then we laugh at them and we talk trash. Oh, you just, and we are seeing now that the stuff that they told us then that we laughed at them about is coming to fruition. Like, because everybody had that uncle,
Oh
everybody
yeah,
had that
most definitely.
auntie
Yep.
that 30 years ago was telling you this and this and this, and now you see all of this stuff happening, and you're like, oh shoot, the whole aliens thing, the whole space travel and all of that. We all thought that stuff was just you know hearsay and mumble jumble, but we got to start paying more attention to those people that have that history, and gender gender equality is so important. I mean, that sounds like another subject, but it's not another subject, because that is what this is about, is gender equality. And there's so much inequality, um, as when it comes to gender. Um, and it's just, I'm gonna read another um, article. Is the question was, who is the most affected by gender inequality? And it's not even close. It's women. Like it's not in, it's not even close. This article says gender-based violence occurs everywhere around the world across all economic and social groups. While both boys and girls are negatively impacted, girls are particularly at risk. An estimated 1 in 3 women globally have experienced physical or sexual violence in their lifetime, mostly at the hands of their partners. And what that's saying to me is that we need to start taking more of an active role in these young girls' lives.
And that's why I said father. The father makes such an impact on daughters, what they will put up with, what is okay, what is not okay. Um, because otherwise we are very susceptible to being taken advantage of from the ones that we love in our family, with the our significant others. We are susceptible to that. And if we have a strong man in our life, and it doesn't always have to be a father, but I will say, not having my father in my life was a big portion of my childhood. Um, when he was in my life, or when he came back into my life, the things that he would say would hit me 5 times harder than some just random person on the street. Some random person on the street, or even a friend could say the same exact thing, but it never hit me like the words that would come from
It's just natural, and I think that we all have heard it. The bond between a father and daughter is I mean that's a given bond. Like that's that's where daddy's girl comes from. Like that bond between daughter and father is an unbreakable bond. And likewise, like Christy was saying, I don't care how strong of a father you are, your daughter can break you down. Your daughter can break you down. Most daughters own their dad. It's they
Lloyd's
do.
not feeling that right now.
When you think about it, put your son up, put your daughter up. Who has more? Who has more influence over you? Your daughter or your son?
You have to put a a normalcy around that. You say a daughter and a son. Your son is not normal, and of course your daughter.
First of all, none of our kids are normal.
That's
That's none of our kids are normal.
You can tell Floyd has a teenage
Yeah.
daughter though right now.
Yeah, none of our kids are normal. But you are not gonna hold your daughter to the same standard that you hold your son. Like I say I was blessed. I was blessed to not have daughters because me knowing me, I'd probably be in jail serving some time. Because what I see with these little boys, yeah,
Well, I like this comment Mia said, without a father, we spend the rest of our lives trying to find winners in the world,
yeah,
which I think is very true.
yeah, we do, but also it also the other way. Even if you have a great father in your life, you still go into other relationships expecting that man to be your father. And it's just that tie that binds between a daughter and a father. Like that's an unbelievable bond because not only is is your father a part of you, that's your protector. That's who you feel safe with. Your father, as it pertains to a daughter, is your superhero. Like and it a lot of it is in large part to the strength of a man. Like little girls view their father as unbreakable. Like that is my dad can go through walls. And most fathers will try to live up to that expectation. And so that's why I say, with fathers, we spend a large part of our lives trying to live up to the expectations that our daughters have for us. Because we'll let down anybody in the world. But the thing that hurts us most is when we let our daughters. But even as a father, we talk about a woman holding that expectation to another man. Hell, as a father, we hold that expectation to the other man. That we do. As a father, you expect that man to be you.
But that's how you know a good father from a not so good father is at the wedding. Is the father of the bride standing there prideful because he knows that his daughter's marrying a man that's just like him? That's how you know there's a good man. My best friend's daughter got married, and he's worked for border patrol and very great father, like probably one of the best fathers that I know. And his daughter got married, and she's like, "Daddy brought him home. He's in the military, and he just let him check him up and down, see what family he comes from." He's like, "Yeah." He said there was pride as his daughter was getting married because he knows that this man's going to take care of him as he did. You can tell that also when a woman goes to marry a man, if he's just like you, are you going to be scared or are you going to be prideful? That should be what the man you are.
Why don't we have more women considering themselves to be feminine? Why isn't that number higher? Um, because, like I said, it's about 60%, a little bit over 60%. Is it the confidence? I mean, there's like I said, there's things um, that influence that, and then a breakdown of that 60% is 19% of women says feminist describes them somewhat. 19%. Other 42% says that it describes them really well. But the factors that come into play as it pertains to women viewing themselves as feminists is what we talked about: age, education, political political stance, and all these different things. Is I just feel like for women, women have to be all in. All women have to be all in, and I think that's the thing that holds women back is that you have some women that feel like I need to be subservient in every aspect of life, and that's fine to an extent. When it comes to home life, because you also got to consider, and that's why I said women rule the world. It's like you have women CEOs, women that are empowering other women in very influential positions, but then they have to come home and be the wife, be the mother, and cook dinner and all of these things. And that's why I said it's like we start have to start putting these women on a bigger pedestal than what we put them on, and that means open opportunities that we're giving to men have those same opportunities available to women.
It's funny you say that because I did talk to I was able to talk to one lady and she's a CEO of the company and what really shocked me. Well, it didn't really shock me. What really bothered my mind was she's a CEO. Her husband was in and I was like, wow. She said, just like you said, how this woman goes home, cooks for the kids, took the food, and when her husband was sick, she takes care of him.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. I was like, that's a stuff right there.
And I don't know the statistics, but we live in a day and age where there's more women now that are breadwinners in the household. I'm gonna play devil's advocate real quick. Is there a such thing as a woman being too feministic?
I would say,
Yeah, that's why some women don't want to call themselves feminist because it's more about
That's where I was
equality
going.
rather than women in power, women rule the world. It's about equality. We're all equal. It's about seeing yourself in the other person, regardless of their sex. So yeah, definitely.
I don't know. That's what I was looking at. I agree, but I was looking at it from another stance as well as like um for me, women that I have seen that are too feministic are the women that are at the point where they're saying that they don't need a man. They
Well,
get to a certain
maybe
they
I'm
get
too
to a certain
feminist.
they get to a certain point to where and a lot of it is enlarged to that they have gotten to where they've gotten on their own without a
Right,
man
right.
involved. But I still, even if you were able to do that, that's not everybody's story. And like you said, that there's men in these women's lives that are influencing them. And if you're sending out this message that you don't need a man, that you can do all of this on your own, um, that's a very bad message to send out. And I think that's what we're seeing all over social media when we have when we see these sit down conversations with men and women and they're going back and forth role women's roles and this and that, and that's why I love the fact that you have women that are actually coming out saying that, like, women, we have a role. Like, it's okay to be a boss in your field of where you work, but we still have a role as a woman,
Right.
and we need to still play that role. And to be talking about this nonsense that you don't need a man.
I'm one of them. I'm one of them. I will say I don't need a man. I will say that to my kids. You don't need a man. We do not need a man. We choose. We want. Want and need are two totally different things. Wanting a man in your life and needing a man in your life, two totally different things. I love to have male friends, male companions, males in my life. But do I need them? No.
I I mean everybody, because there's a lot of things in our life that we need and we don't need. Like, we have that we don't need. Like, it's a given. Like, for me, that's one of those unspoken truths. Is like, yeah, you can survive without. But the point is that the message that we should be sending to young women? Because what happens is that message gets lost in translation, and you get these young women, because if you just telling somebody or a young woman, you don't need a man, you don't need a man, you don't need a man, guess what she is going to? You need to be specific when you're having these conversations. It's like, yeah, you can get your way in life without a man,
We need to teach our kids
but to
that
be
you don't
saying
need
that
a
you
man
don't need a man, well, I
to
mean,
get
men
what
don't need
you
women,
exactly. You
but
choose.
but there choices is with everything you do.
But see, we when we talk to our daughters, I know when I talk to my daughter, and I let them know, I said that you're a powerful young woman. And you can go out there and do anything.
Yeah, you put your mind
Right.
to it.
Go out there and just
Yeah.
do it. Okay, you don't need a man in your life. You can do it.
Right.
If you choose to want a man, yes, that's fine. But for yourself, you go out there and conquer the world on your own. Yeah.
Yeah, don't
You do
don't
the
don't
things.
be don't be letting your choices be influenced by the need of anybody, whether it's a man or a woman. But like I said, the message is just so skewed and it's just so vague that you have these women on social media. I don't need a man for nothing, and this and that and this and that. But then when young women see that and they're successful women talking about you don't need a man, now all of a sudden they think that's the part of the message that you need to be paying attention
Right.
to.
That goes
But
back to empowering, just like that. When you saying that the famous person up there saying all this stuff about these women, and what they're doing is empowering that in them. They're telling them, letting them know you don't need them.
But that
But
I get
also,
that. But what you're not understanding, like, that's just like telling me, like, you that's like me as an entrepreneur saying you don't need a 9 to 5. You don't need to go work a 9 to 5. Don't ever work a 9 to 5. Don't
you don't
even
need
what.
a 9 to 5.
But the thing about it is, you can't just give that message, because the 9 to 5 is a means to something else. So yeah, in my mind, I know I don't need a 9 to 5, and if it's God willing, I never want to work a 9 to 5 again. But I know that there may come a point in my life where I might need to go back to a 9 to 5. So I can't just be sending out that message, stay away from a 9 to 5, don't work a 9 to 5. You just need to know what you have available to you. And there's going to be a position that you're going to want. And guess who 9 times out of 10, who you might have to go through to get that position, or you might need help from to get that position. So when you're just sending out message, whether it's a man or a woman, that I don't need a woman, I don't need a man, you can't drive that. You can't say that. You empower women to find the power within themselves, saying that you don't need anybody based on your ability. Like you can do it on your own.
I think the message is say, or woman says, I don't need a man. The message that she's saying is, I don't need a man to accomplish my goals, and we don't. We don't need a man to accomplish, to get a roof over our house, to get food in our mouth. We don't need a man to accomplish our goals. We choose to have men in our life because we want them in our life, not because we need them.
That's a given.
Now,
like that
also,
for me, that's elementary to know that.
Also, women, a lot of women, speaking from experience here, have been sitting in their masculine energy for so long that we get comfortable with it. We get comfortable with it. We're used to doing everything on their own. So we are very much in our masculine energy. Now, you get a strong man around us, you watch those edges soften so quick. People are always afraid of strong women. They're like, oh no, she's scary. She's too strong. Get a strong man that knows how to handle that woman. She'll become jello in his hand. So you can't say these strong women, they can't be with anyone. They don't know how to be with a man. The right man, the right strong man will know how to make her putty.
Well, and I feel like kind of piggyback, but not piggyback on that. I feel like even the strongest women in the world, I don't think it's about bringing them down to where they're manageable and making them putty or whatever. What I think is having them understand how to use that power and how to walk in that power is I want a strong woman, but I need a strong woman to connect to me. I don't need a strong woman overpowering me.
And that's what I'm
Likewise,
saying.
I don't need to overpower a woman. And 9 times out of 10, if a man is saying that, that woman's too, that's a lack of confidence and an insecurity within that man or that woman, depending on who's saying that. And so that has nothing to do with that woman. That insecurity has always been there. The woman just brought it out of him. So that's the thing, is like that's like making somebody happy. That's not your job to make somebody happy. People have to make themselves happy. Like that's not something that's your job. It's not. But I just think that is a confidence that a man or a woman has to have, regardless of who they're in with. But if you come face to face with a woman that has just as much confidence, that has just as much masculinity, as it pertains to whatever that is I love it. Like for me as a man, I love that.
But trust me, Tim, when a woman comes home, she wants to turn into putty. She's been a strong woman out being a strong woman, teaching others the whole time. She wants to come home and turn into putty. The balance of life.
Yeah, that's what it really. I was trying to get the message is just creating that balance. It's because also you also have to think when a man or a woman comes in a relationship and they're throwing their weight around like that, it's because they left something where they had to do that. And and as the other person, you have to make them be okay. Like you don't have to carry all the load. I got you.
Yes, exactly.
And for a man, that's tough to find these days because our masculinity has been kind of ripped to shreds. That's why you see guys, and I know I'm about to step on some feet, but I don't care. That's why you see guys wearing dresses and carrying purses. So how can I, as a woman, be walking in my masculinity and I look at you wearing a dress and carrying a purse? How can I look at you as having that masculinity when you're the one supposed to be having a masculinity that I'm looking at, that I'm like, hey, and that's that's a topic for another day. I know I I know I stirred the pot, but we gonna get up out of here on that note.
I got my girl saying that some of us are tired of being strong, is what she's talking
It,
about.
that is so important. That is so important what she said,
Mhm.
and damn it, we're gonna do a show on that because it is overbearing. It's tiring of always having to carry the load, and people don't realize that. Like if you can't be with somebody and make them feel comfortable with giving you the suitcase, giving you that ton of
Yeah.
bricks, and be like, you know what, I got you. Don't worry about it. But as somebody who's been through it like you do, you get tired of carrying those loads. I've carried the load the majority of my life. That's why I always say, and people hear me say on social media, check on your strong friends. Because 9 times out of 10, they don't have anybody that they can lean and depend on because they have been that their whole lives. So get you someone that's gonna take that backpack off and be like, you know what, I'll carry it for this mile. You rest up this mile and a half, I got you. Yeah. And that's important. So I thank whoever that is for that comment because that was very, very, very important and it was right on time based on the conversation we had. But man, we could actually go another hour on this topic. We do. But I will say this for us men out there, um, we need to be giving these women their flowers. We didn't really dive into what I wanted to talk about per se as it pertains to sports and women, but we need to understand. We need to stop looking at these women because they don't do it just like a man does it. You gotta look at what they have to work with based on the product that they put out. It is equal to the product of what we put out based on what we have to work with. That's where the judgment needs to be. It can't be based on what a man can do and what a woman can do. No, you got to base it on whatever their skill set is and what that product that comes from that skill set. People look at things the wrong way. It's like saying, "Oh, LeBron is the greatest because he scored 40,000 points." Okay, he's played 20 years. Longevity plays a part in those stats. If you have a player, and it's coming, you have a player that plays 30 years, guess what his stats are going to look like? It's a longevity thing. That's why you can't look at stats as a whole and be like, okay, that's what makes you great. No, it doesn't. What have you done in a short amount of window that you're comparing yourself to somebody else? Use that same time frame. So if we're comparing Jordan to LeBron, look at 15 years where LeBron was at 15 years and where Jordan was at 15 years. Take that window and make the comparison. That's what we're saying about women. You're like, you can't say a woman is taking a man's skill set, applying it to a woman and looking at the product. That's not fair. It's not a good scale to grade them on. You grade them on the woman, the skill set, what she brings to the table, and the product that comes from that. That's the correct way to judge it. So, but we appreciate you guys tuning in today, Dana, Rondell, Addie. You know, we really appreciate you guys coming in, giving us just an inkling of your time. I appreciate it because I understand the value of time, and if anybody it gives me any of it, I'm super super thankful. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. Um, we had another amazing show. And like I said, man, you don't have to agree with someone to learn something. That's what makes us uniquely beautiful in our own way is that we have different ideas that we mesh together. But the thing about it is if you sitting at a table and you are talking to someone and you don't agree with something, you don't have to leave that table in agreement, but you have to leave that table have learned something. And so I always learn, even if I'm not on the same page or if I don't totally agree with someone, I still learn because the thing about it is I'm taking a different perspective away from the situation that I might not have considered. And so that's why, with the things that we didn't agree about, I learned a different perspective. It's like culturally, our different perspective is influenced by our cultures. That doesn't make me right. That doesn't make her wrong. That's just, we have different views based on what we've been exposed to in our lives. And the fact that she's a woman and I'm a man, I can't tell her what it's like to be a woman. She can't tell me what it's like to be a man. And so that's why you have these conversations, is you're trying to get perspective. If we understand, when we have conversation, when we have disagreements, it's not about right and wrong. That's where people fall short, is everybody wants to be right and somebody has to be wrong. That's not the case, man. It's not the case. If you spend less time talking and more time listening, you will get a different perspective out of every conversation. So we appreciate you guys tuning in today. We look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. We ask everybody to go to Spotify, go to YouTube, follow, subscribe. Have conversations with us. Subscribe. We need to get these numbers up. Pass that link around to everybody you know, and we need to get our subscriptions up, because the more subscriptions we have on these different platforms, the more it will allow us to do on these different platforms. So we definitely need your support. We appreciate you guys tuning in today. And as how we end all shows, love, peace, and soul.